a leader whose lifetime's work embodies the values of service, transformation, and inclusive development. His Excellency, Honorable Mashatile, the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, is a statesman whose leadership has been pivotal in advancing our democratic project and strengthening the foundations of a capable, ethical, and developmental state. From his early activism in the struggle for freedom to his stewardship of key governmental portfolios, including being Premier of the Gauteng province and Minister of Arts and Culture, and now the Deputy President of the Republic, has consistently championed good governance, economic growth, and social justice. Today, the Deputy President leads critical national initiatives aimed at building a responsive public service, deepening intergovernmental coordination, and ensuring that the municipalities are empowered to deliver sustainable services and drive economic resilience. His presence in this assembly is a powerful affirmation of the centrality of local government in South Africa's growth agenda. And his presence signals a shared commitment to partnership, accountability, and innovation in addressing the challenges that confront our communities. As we deliberate on strategies to strengthen municipalities, attract investors, and combat social ills such as gender-based violence, we do so under the guidance of a leader who understands that the success of our nation begins at the local level. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming His Excellency, Honorable Paul Mashatile, the President of the Republic of South Africa, to address you, Your Excellency. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You may take your seats. Thank you very much, Minister Hlabisa, for that introduction. Let me recognize in our midst SALGA President, Councillor Peggy Stofile. Let me recognize SALGA Executive Deputy Presidents, Councillor Flora Mabuya Boltman, Councillor Kola Pagati, and Councillor Shantia Limbeck. Members of the National Executive Committee of SALGA here present, Minister Stellan Dabeni, our Minister of Small Business Development, and other ministers, if they are here, that I've not seen. Deputy Minister of Kokta, Dixon Masemula, the host mayor, Umpati Wetolopa, our executive mayor of the city of eThekwini, Councillor Cyril Kaba, Let me also recognize the chairperson of the Public Service Commission, Professor Somadota Figeni, Secretary General of SAMU, Comrade Tumisani Makagula, Secretary General of IMATU, Mr. Johan Kuhn, leadership of all organized labor here present, business representatives who are with us, all executive mayors from all other cities who may be here with us, speakers, councillors, distinguished guests, sponsors and exhibitors, and all delegates to this National Members' Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, Sanbonani, Abshe, Dumelang, Molwe, good morning. Or is it afternoon? It's almost getting to the afternoon. Fellow delegates, I'm deeply honored to address you today on this second day of the South African Local Government Association, SALGA's National Members' Assembly, where we come together to chart a path towards a brighter future for our municipalities and our nation as a whole. This assembly takes place during the 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children, which was launched 2 days ago. We do not doubt SALGA's commitment to gender equity, the Women's Commission, and advocacy for safe, empowered communities. We firmly believe that local government has a critical role to play in eliminating the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide in all our communities. Let us continue to advance gender equity Abuse Management Act of 2013, the Disaster Management Act, including SALGA's involvement on current consultations on the Municipal Structures Amendment Bill, what the Minister referred to as the Coalition Bill. Your steadfastness, or rather steadfast dedication as SALGA, as well as your involvement in Intergovernmental Forum and the National Council of Provinces, the NCOP, have enabled you to successfully push for these improvements, ensuring that the legal framework supports municipalities in carrying out their service delivery mandates. We also appreciate the participation on SALGA on the National Dialogue on Coalition Governments that we convened at the University of the Western Cape in August of 2023. The recommendation and final declaration of that dialogue on coalition government have paved the way for the development of an overarching framework that will guide coalitions arrangements at the local government level. Minister Hlabisa referred to this earlier on, that we did witness that in some of the local government areas where you have coalition, there were a lot of disruptions, disagreement, and as a result, we had to convene that conference. And I'm happy that legislation is now being piloted by Minister of COGTA to ensure that we concretize that intervention. Of course, one of our critical priorities as this government is to build a capable, ethical, and developmental state. And to give effect to this strategic priority, government has introduced several policy and legislative reforms. We are therefore pleased to report to this National Members' Assembly that Parliament is currently processing the Public Service Commission Amendment Bill to extend the mandate of the Public Service Commission to include local government and public entities. This extension aims to strengthen the PSC's powers to professionalize the public service across all three spheres of government. We therefore call on all members of organized local government to support government's efforts to introduce reforms that will improve the work of local government. In this regard, President Cyril Ramaphosa has launched Phase 2 of Operation Vulindlela. Phase 2 of Operation Vulindlela focuses on accelerating economic reforms to achieve faster and more inclusive growth by addressing structural constraints in key sectors like energy, water, and also services in local government. Key priorities also include establishing a competitive electricity market, reforming water resource management, improving the visa system, and strengthening a number of local government services. As part of these reforms, the Minister of COGTA, Honorable Hlabisa, is conducting continuous engagements on the review of the 1998 White Paper on Local Government. These engagements involve stakeholders from various sectors to gather inputs on the modernizing of the local government system and addressing persistent challenges. The goal is to publish a revised white paper by March 2026. I'm sure, Honorable Minister, I'm correct. So by March next year, this will be published. SALGA must be in the forefront of shaping the future of local government. Hence, your full participation in this review process will be highly appreciated, and we encourage you to really take a lead in this process. We are therefore pleased that this National Members' Assembly presents a platform for members to advance their policy proposals that will take our local government forward. Fellow delegates, it is laudable that after 29 years, SALGA remains committed to nurturing a renewed social contract between citizens and local government sector by maintaining ongoing interactions with all our communities. It is important that you continue to fulfill this tremendous duty of bridging the gap between the citizens and local government. This administration continues to view you as a crucial and relevant component in formulating policies aimed at enhancing service delivery at local government level, which serves as a coalface of service delivery. I must emphasize that local government represent the front line of service delivery, affecting the daily lives of our citizens. As we stand on the eve of the 7th local government elections, we urge you to stay ready to support the capacity of governance of municipalities and prepare incoming councillors for their roles. Earlier on, I was chatting to President Stofile, and he informed me that he is finalizing arrangement with the Minister of Higher Education to ensure that we come with a proper program of training candidates who are ethical, principled, and competent to improve service delivery and build public trust between South Africans and municipalities. Considering the current political landscape, there is a need to prepare frameworks and offer support tailored to addressing governance challenges. This includes effectively managing coalition governments and tackling issues related to political stability. And that bill that Minister Hlabisa is pioneering will assist us in this regard. Distinguished delegates, this year's theme, empowering municipalities to drive South Africa's growth agenda through economic resilience and sustainable service delivery, encapsulate the central role that local government play in shaping the economic and social landscape of our country. The theme speaks to the critical role of municipalities in steering our nation towards a robust economic future amidst the complexities of local governance. It calls on us to leverage our unique mandates to address the pressing challenges of economic stagnation, urbanization pressures, climate change, infrastructure backlogs, and of course, capacity constraints. It invites all of government and all of society to collaborate in reshaping economic resilience and sustainability at the municipal level. Our municipalities are the bedrock of our communities, and it is through their diligence, innovation, and dedication that we can achieve sustainable development and prosperity for all. It is imperative that we continue to work together, to collaborate and innovate, to ensure that our municipalities are equipped to meet the needs of our communities and sustain and drive sustainable development across the country. We must prioritize economic resilience, invest in infrastructure and services, and embrace new technologies and approaches to service delivery. By doing so, we can create an environment where businesses thrive, where communities prosper, and each individual has the opportunity to realize their full potential. As I've stated, we all agree that local government is the sphere of government that is closest to the people. It is through municipalities that democracy connects with daily life. Through the provision of water, energy, sanitation, roads, and public order, amongst other things. Functional municipalities are the entry point to the state's legitimacy. They are the engines of development, the custodians of service delivery, and the guardians of public trust. In this regard, SALGA's journey over these past 29 years has been marked by achievements that inspire both pride and confidence. From 13 clean audits to global leadership, from capacity building to advocacy, SALGA has persistently shaped effective, accountable, and future-ready local government. As we look ahead, we must acknowledge that the next 3 decades will require bold reforms. These are reforms that will forever alter the course of local government and set us on an upward trajectory of urgent and sustainable delivery. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my hope that this National Members' Assembly will not shy away from boldly envisioning the next phase of local government as we close this seminal chapter in the history of democratic local government. The presidency of this 7th administration of government reaffirms its support for a consultative, unified reform roadmap. We must ensure that all reforms, including those from Operation Vulindlela, are integrated in the white paper review outcomes. Compatriots, I am pleased to note that based on the discussion held during the first day of this assembly, everyone concurs that municipalities should function as catalysts for local government development. And I'm happy, Mafaku, for the presentation you gave this morning on how we should support municipalities in terms of local economic development. From now on, it must be clear that yourself, Minister Tlhabisa, and Deputy Minister Masemul are now part of the family of SALGA. You must always be with SALGA. And it's because of the work you do, and we're quite happy with the work that you are doing to support our municipalities. I'm pleased, honorable delegates, to note that also based on the discussion of the first day of the assembly, you also dealt with master classes in panels that brought light to the value of innovation, partnership, but also digital solutions. Please continue to invest in township economies, foster partnerships with the private sector, empower local SMEs, and expand renewable energy projects. The SALGA products catalog and digital transformation initiative showcased at this assembly are examples of the practical solutions we need to drive economic resilience. If we are to effectively drive economic resilience, we should support local economic development, amongst others, through skills development, policy enhancement, disaster risk management, and infrastructure modernization. Key actions include implementing reskilling initiative, crafting industry transition policies, fostering public-private partnerships, investing in early warning systems, and updating infrastructure to address challenges like climate change. Furthermore, to improve effective governance and financial resilience, SALGA should prioritize strengthening fiscal management and also intergovernmental relations, building municipal capacity and accountability, and instituting reforms aimed at ensuring financial sustainability and preventing corruption. It has been proven time and again that good governance, financial sustainability, and ethical leadership are the bedrock of effective local government. The Auditor General's insights and SALGA's record of clean audits remind us of the importance of compliance, transparency, and accountability. Nevertheless, we must also confront the challenges of unfunded budgets, poor revenue management, and the need for stronger consequence management. If local government is indeed where the rubber hits the tar, then we must advocate for a more equitable fiscal dispensation. I was explaining to to President Stofile earlier on, and we're discussing with Minister Hlabisa that the current dispensation was adopted at the time when the theory was very strong that municipalities have their own revenue. So when the Minister of Finance distribute equitable share of revenue, they say, well, the municipalities will collect their own. But we know that the reality is different. And therefore, we need to review that. Because I'm sure many of you will agree with me that there are many municipalities that don't have a tax base. There's no industry. And what is even worse, you find a situation where industry and households are not paying for services. So during this review process, this is one of the issues that we have to deal with. And I agree with those who argue that local government must receive a fair share of national revenue. We must also reallocate resources, strengthen oversight, and build capacity. We must ensure that municipalities are empowered to fulfill their mandates and meet the expectations of communities. Distinguished delegates, another critical challenge faced by local government is how we respond and manage disasters. Climate change intensify natural disasters by increasing their frequency, severity, and impact, leading to more extreme weather events like heat waves, floods, and also powerful storms. A few days ago, we received reports of devastating floods that took place at New Hanover under Umshwati local municipality here in KZN. And according to those reports we received, one body has been recovered, but it is believed that there may well be others who are still missing. About 100 people were displaced, most of whom live near flood lines in an informal settlement. So this is a big challenge that we are facing. We therefore call upon communities as well to refrain from building informal settlements along flood lines, very close to rivers and streams. In this regard, we would like municipalities to strengthen municipal special arrangements, or spatial arrangements rather, because this will be very crucial to avoid some of these disasters by ensuring that land is used safely and sustainably through measures like proper zoning, ensuring proper infrastructure planning, and also addressing socio-environmental inequalities. We also call upon municipalities to be disaster resilient. This call for the development of modern disaster risk reduction strategies that recognizes that local governments are on the front lines of climate-related disasters and other shocks. This requires a shift from reactive disaster management to a proactive risk reduction. That is why we have included the issue of strengthening disaster resilience and response as part of the overarching priorities of the G20. As part of the final declaration of the G20 summit, the G20 ministers under the presidency of the Republic of South Africa have reaffirmed their shared commitment to disaster risk reduction. We therefore call on this Assembly to take this work and commitment of the G20 forward and ensure that we protect our communities against disasters, and we develop strategies that will enable us to achieve sustainable development, resilience, economic stability, and prosperity. We must align our efforts, adopt best practices, leverage partnerships, and embrace new technologies for improved service delivery. Let us also learn from the success and failures of the past. Let us build resilient, inclusive communities, and we must equip every municipality to provide sustainable services and stimulate economic growth. Distinguished delegates, finally, let us integrate Clean Cities indicators into municipal performance systems. Integrating Clean Cities campaign into municipal performance management systems can align local government actions with national environmental goals and enhance accountability for waste management and sanitation services. We must establish unambiguous, quantifiable, and uniform key performance indicators that mirrors the campaign's objectives and applicable uniformly across diverse municipalities. Let us also partner with corporates, entities, the business sector as a whole, and community organizations for urban renewal and make cleanliness a public order and a shared responsibility in the same way that SALGA has partnered with the presidency on the Clean Cities and Towns campaign, which we launched in Kliptown in June in the city of Johannesburg. Distinguished delegates, as we are on the verge of the end of this term of local government, and we are now preparing to usher in a new dispensation, it is critical that we renew our commitment to governance integrity, service excellence, and intergovernmental cooperation. The urgency of reform is very clear. We must align the white paper review and Operation Vulindlela for coherent consultative change. As I said earlier, this is a time to empower municipalities to drive growth through innovation, partnership, and digital transformation. We must adopt best practices and sectoral reforms for sustainable, inclusive communities. We must link environmental stewardship with economic empowerment, as well as advance gender equity and activism for safe, empowered communities. I wish to express my gratitude to all of you for your unwavering commitment to advancing the cause of local government, but more importantly, serving our communities with passion and dedication. Let us rededicate ourselves to the ideals of good governance, transparency and accountability that are the foundation of effective local government. Let us continue to work together in the spirit of unity and solidarity to build a better future for all South Africans. Together, let us renew our commitment to excellence, unity, and the future of South African local government. I wish you all the best for the remainder of your program this afternoon. President Stofile reminded me earlier, and he said, you know, when we invite the president here, or yourself, Deputy President, we don't want you to come and speak and go. We want you to interact with us. He said there are a lot of councillors here, mayors, etc. So I said to the president, no, I think it's understood, so I'll stay until you conclude the session. Thank you very much, fellow delegates.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. Invite our two ministers who addressed us a little earlier this morning to come back up on stage for their Q&A sessions for some of the delegates who might want to pose questions to them. So we'll run the Q&A sessions in a similar fashion to what we did yesterday. I'll recognize hands from the floor, and I'll just ask that we all please come to the center aisles. You'll see there's one on the left side of the room, and there's another one on the right side of the room. So if you can please make your way to those microphones once you have been recognized. On that note, we will open then questions for the Deputy President. This session is dealing with questions for the Deputy President only. Yes, sir, you can come to the microphone. All right, yes, sir, you're recognized. You'll be number 2. Before you start, sir, let me just recognize the hands. Any more hands on the right side of the room? Any more hands on the right side of the room? All right, sir, I see you. You'll be number 4. Or number 3, sorry. You'll be number 3. Any other hands? All right. There's a hand at the back, ma'am. I think, yes, you can stand. You'll be number 4. If you can please make your way towards the microphone. All right, sir, in the green golf shirt, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you very much, Chair and Deputy President. Oh,
so just before you go on, I'm going to ask that the delegates that are making their way out, please try and do that as quietly as possible so that we don't interrupt the proceedings. So let's move out with as much quiet as possible. I'll also ask that the ushers at the back, please let's try and keep the door closed so that the noise that's coming out from the outside doesn't disrupt us. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair. And let me greet humbly so the Deputy President, His Excellency, Honorable Paul Mashatile, and all the ministers that are in our plenary, and the Deputy Ministers, and the President of SALGA, and of course all NEC members. I will just raise 3 issues. First, I think it has been indicated here that councillors, in terms of the upper limits, they will be getting 4.1%. Now, by implication, it tells us that that 4.1% is not VAT related. It is not CPI index related. It is not inflation related. And where does that leave councillors? Obviously on a survival mode. And that has been happening ever since. And the issue here is the issue of the commission that is given the responsibility to make a determination of this upper limit. And we've been saying that councillors must be paid from the national fiscus for over years. I think it will be good that in these 30 years of democracy, we once and for all put an end to this suffering of councillors under these circumstances. The second question will be on this issue of load reduction. Municipalities have been put under a blanket of darkness. I can indicate two municipalities in Nkangala district, Dr. J.S. Moroka and Tembisi Lehane, for over a year now. Uninvited, no consultation, no indication as to when is the end in sight for this load reduction by ESCOM, obviously under the Minister of Electricity, Khosienzu Ramokgo. I think it is important that we cannot have our people suffering this collateral imposition or damage or suffering, because in those two municipalities, people are on a user pay principle. They buy electricity and use it. But if we were going to say, because amongst you, there are those that are illegal connectors, thieving of electricity, but all of you must suffer the same condition, that is unfair. And that is what our people are fighting us about. And it's now over a year that has been going on. We think this matter needs to be given special attention and be resolved. And ESCOM, a state-owned entity, cannot continue to behave the way it is behaving without being called to order. And that is our humble request. People are detaining councillors, people are closing roads, burning, and threatening the lives of councillors, because they believe it is councillors that are behind this act of ESCOM. So that is one matter, Chair, that I'm raising. The last one, Chair, okay, the one but last is the issue of the just energy transition. And here, we want to check, why are we not applying the pound for pound approach? That if we are going to close non-renewable energy generating plant, which was employing 1,000 people with so much, so much workforce or so much money expended in that energy generating plant. Why are you not replacing that with an equal measure of renewable energy plant or investment? Because if we are going to just go and say in 2030 we are closing these plants that are generating non-renewable, using non-renewables, you are essentially going to establish ghost towns in our areas. And we shall continue to see people doing what is happening. Today, there's a phenomenon where people are kidnapping people, extortions and all of these things. Something that is very foreign in our communities and in our society.
All right, sir.
The last one.
Sir, We've got a very limited time with the officials. They all have to be out of here in the next half an hour.
Okay,
There are
last
at least 4 other people that still need to ask questions after you. I'm going to ask you to please, let's be respectful of the fact that everybody else also wants to be heard. So I'm going to ask you to leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me go to number 2.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me precede my issue with a disclaimer. I'm beyond the interest I'm going to raise, as with regard to my age. I've made an observation since yesterday, and I realized the energy driven by the youthful part of the councillors and the knowledge economy thereof. And I acknowledge all the presentation done with regard to the interest that has to do with how councillors' interest must be harnessed. Mine is on the invested economy, knowledge economy that they command, which from time to time, as and when they leave the institutions, they are left in wilderness. And particularly those that have acquired academically. I raised this matter at the local government in Daba. Believe me, I'm raising it for the last time at a platform like this. If it was discussed before, my apology, but I'm raising it now. I would like care to be taken on academically informed councillors with the recognition that there is also an encouragement that others must be taken to school, particularly at those that are youthful and acquired. And if we had listened to them yesterday as they were making deliberations, to look at the window when they are out of the space as councillors, how do we utilize that knowledge economy? Believe me, Chairperson, the information and the knowledge they command with their face before communities and at a level of service delivery, when they are supposed to now be consumed or be accommodated at a level of an administration, requirements that are in place do not open that window for them. Yet, with the knowledge they command, they by far surpass even the officials that are serving par excellence. So my take is, could we craft a regulation that accommodate councillors who have served and are currently serving and have got the capability and the ability to be administrators at any level, not to be ring-fenced in a regulation that would recognize their participation as councillors to be accommodated. Like I've made a disclaimer to say, don't discount on me, you can see my age. It doesn't feature there. So I'm really dealing with issues that has to do with policy. That's my take, Chairperson.
All right.
That's my take. Thank you.
Thank you,
I would
sir.
like to thank the meeting chairperson. I've already apologized. I'm writing to yet another capable minister of human settlement to go and account there. May I be excused? Thank you very much.
All right, sir, no problem. And delegates, as you can see, the ministers are now also on stage. So I'll open maybe for just 2 more hands to accommodate the ministers being part of this session. Yes, number 3.
Thank you very much, Program Director. My name is Zugisa Ghana. I currently serve in the SALGA Youth Commission and as MMC Finance of Kings Wadanjawo Municipality. Firstly, Chair, I think I would really appreciate that. I think it's in this term of office, I think it's the first time that the presidency of our country has addressed SALGA. I think in the last NMA, the presidency was not there. Unless I'm incorrect, I think we would want to thank that and that we have at least more than 1 minister and deputy minister coming to our gathering. The first point that I would want to talk to is it would be interesting to get details of the recommendation from COCTA as articulated here by the Minister of a 4.1% on the remuneration of councillors, when the Commission had proposed around 7 and 5%, when we know that in the 2 previous financial years, the CPI in the country has been above 4%, and looking into the future with the new inflation target now being at 3%, the implications that will have on the livelihoods of municipal finances, but also on the councillors themselves. And yet now you are recommending a 4.1% that does not take into consideration the cost of living implications for the very councillors, over and above the fact of the disparities that exist already between councillors serving in different grading of different grades of municipalities. And linked to that question is the very determination of the formula, Honorable Minister, that you use to determine the number of councillors per municipality. That formula disproportionately makes a person who happens to live in a jurisdiction with a higher number of registered voters to be underrepresented, in the sense that a ward in a metro is constituted by a higher number of voters than a ward in a rural area. So representation does not become proportional in that regard. I will make an example. In a district where I come from, Owar Tambo district, a ward councillor in Mhlonhlo will have registered voters that constitute their ward being less than 4,000. But a ward councillor in KSD would have registered voters under them close to 7,000. And so you find, if I were to make an example about the level of representation, if I were to make an example about the education system, if you just pardon me, Chair, in a classroom, we know the ratio is very simple. 35 learners are equal to 1 educator. So I'm saying, on top of doing that, we then have got these other satellite disparities. And I pass on that particular point and go to the Deputy President. Deputy President, we are really encouraged by the work that South Africa has done on the G20 and the goal of really building what we can call a strong, sustainable, balanced and inclusive growth globally, and our contribution even here local. But the unfortunate reality, Deputy President, is that this tax base that is not there in rural municipalities is because there's disproportionate investment on gross fixed capital formation in different areas. So a municipality that does not have infrastructure will not have any asset base from which to raise revenues.
All right.
So it's not a situation that that municipality naturally does not have a revenue base. There are people that are staying there, the revenue base could be there if the infrastructure was there. Now, the question I'm asking is, there is a shift in the monetary policy and fiscal policy coordination in the country towards industrialization. And those industries that can best develop in different areas with different resource endowments in the country require basic services infrastructure investment in them. But the investment on infrastructure is still pursuing an exclusive concentration on investment on only the 8 metros in the country, where only about 40% of the population reside, without any focus on the 44 districts where 60% of the population currently resides in the country. And the districts and local municipalities are actually the areas that have got huge backlogs in terms of infrastructure. Anyway, so we would want to probably call for that issue. And my last parting point, Chair.
No, sir, I'm sorry. And delegates, I'm going to ask, please, let's play along just for this session. We really have limited time. There's so many other people after you. If all you can do is just ask the question, tell us who you're directing the question to and what the question is. Please, let's do that. Yes, sir.
Thanks, facilitator. My brief questions to the Minister of COGT. I think just the first one being an indication around the upper limits for senior managers, which the Minister indicated that is an issue that has already been passed through MINMEC. Just to highlight one or 2 points that have been canvassed broadly with you, Minister, it's just around the issue of the progression of scales, which are issues that have not to date been resolved. As you look into the current draft regulations, particularly around the section 56, 57, as opposed to your collective bargaining colleagues. Now, those are some of the issues that I had thought would have been, given some level of urgency in terms of resolving. The next issue is just around the issue of waivers, Minister. And my difficulty has always been about this process of waivers becoming a second layer of recruitment. You find municipalities with recruitment processes, you are going to get an indication that there are difficulties as it relates to the process with provinces having to complete the process around around recruitment. The next point is just on the upper limits for councillors, which is the last point, facilitator. Just as it relates again to the issues of concurrence, I think there's always been, difficulties as it relates.
Sorry to interrupt you there. Just a quick note to our technical team. The guests on the stage are struggling to hear what the delegates are saying. So I think we just need to balance the sound in terms of the monitors that are up here on the stage. Sorry, so I'll give you a chance to continue. It's important that they're able to clearly hear all of the questions that are being posed. All right, shall we give it another go? Okay, you can continue, sir.
Okay. Is it audible? Can I continue? Oh, okay. Should I go back to the first question?
No, they're indicating that it's fine. Must he go back to the first question? Okay, they're asking for you to please go back to the first question.
Okay, the first question was with regard to the upper limits as it relates to the indication that was given by the minister on what has already been approved at MINMEC level, which relates to upper limits for senior managers. And the point I was making was on issues that were already canvassed around the progression scales, where you would find that as for section 56, there's always been difficulty in terms of balancing with what, particularly your metros, in terms of the level for senior managers in those specific municipalities. I mean, where your HODs will be on a different level, you recruit section 56, all of them come in below what you are providing for senior managers. The other part was on the waivers, which I had indicated that they are bringing challenges as it becomes more or less a second layer of recruitment, where municipalities recruit, particularly on section 56, you are then going to start facing difficulties as it relates to provincial, the areas of concurrences where you are also supposed to be soliciting them from the MECs in your respective provinces. The other point I wanted to speak to, I think that deals with the section 56. On the next one, which is for upper limits for councillors, I was making the point that, Minister, there are challenges as it relates to what exactly becomes the interpretation around this. And I think I'm trying to make the point that the upper limits comes very thin on details. Our interpretation as municipalities always get to be in contrary to what you get when it relates to approval from on the part of the province. There's always this to and from, and I think the point we're trying to make is that perhaps we need to be very explicit in terms of how these upper limits are communicated both to municipalities, including that we get on the part of the provinces as we are to collectively implement these regulations. The case in point is when we're dealing with the provision of protectors for councillors. I think there's always been a lot of challenges there The second issue is in terms of the percentage that are approved for councillors for specific financial years. And I think the indication that we've always been giving is that it's not really very clear in terms of how you deal with what could have been condoned in previous years or previous financial year, going into instances where you are now in a position to make a corrective increment for councillors in subsequent years. I think those are just some of the few things that I wanted to add. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, Honorable Deputy Minister. Allow me to cruise on the already established protocol. I'm Dr. Mapule Mkhatshwa, the Acting Municipal Manager from Ehlanzeni District Municipality. I'll be concise with the three issues. One, they've already alluded to, but I'm requesting it to be added on the team when they're looking at it. The issue of the upper limits, especially on the senior managers reporting to the municipal manager, that it must be taken into consideration that maybe their finalization previously was that they were on contracts, and whereas currently they are now permanently. So I'm requesting when they are looking at that issue, they must also take that into cognizance. The second thing, as a district municipality, we are expected to support our local municipality, where currently they've got serious backlog in terms of the housing development construction. We are all aware, we are South Africans, what happened after 1994, that most of the land, the private sector, they bought it because they wanted to sell it back to the government. And now it delays and also brings a backlog when local municipality want to start with the construction. I am bringing it here in the right platform that can they please also look at it in terms of assisting the local municipalities in terms of allocating appropriate funding to the province so that they assist, because we are there to work and we want to assist them, and we want our community to be able to also have this access to the RDP and any other different types of the programs. The last one, as I've said, I'm from Ehlanzeni District Municipality, of which it's for the past 3 years, we're receiving clean audit. And as I'm acting MM now, I'm also putting my head on the block. We're going to receive another one, even now. But the main challenge, Minister, please assist us. Our roles and responsibility at the district municipalities were taken.
All right.
So we're requesting, can they bring it back?
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I see that we've got a longer row of people this side. There's some hands that I didn't recognize. We only have space for 2 more people. So, ma'am, I recognized you. On the front of the queue, I recognized you.
Thank
yes,
you.
sir, at the back, I also recognized you. No, I didn't recognize you, sir. Sorry, apologies.
Thank you so much, and all protocol observed, and thank you for our Deputy President's presence here today. I've been a councillor for 15 years, and I've heard a lot of what has been said here today before. And I'd like to raise things in terms of municipalities' underperformance and the unfunded mandates that municipalities face, particularly when Eskom is servicing the larger customers that pay, like industrial areas, and local municipalities do not get that income, yet we must struggle to receive payment from poorer communities who are struggling to pay, and that affects our bottom line very seriously. So there needs to be an equitable distribution in terms of how Eskom and municipalities, which areas are allocated. The other thing I would like to raise, and I'm very passionate about it, and that is waste. Waste is one of the largest problems that this country is facing, yet the entire burden is put on local government. If you have a landfill site that is now full and you need to build a new one, we've been told that the minimum it's going to cost is 120 million. Can you please tell us where a local municipality, particularly a small rural local municipality, might get that 120 million rand from in order to comply with provincial and national regulations? I honestly feel that the establishment of landfill sites should be either a national or a provincial competency, and that locals should only manage operations at those sites. We don't have the money to deal with waste and to comply with the legislation that national and provincial is forcing on us.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair, thanks very much for the opportunity. From the Western District Municipality in Gauteng, 2 issues for me, because I've had colleagues who have raised issues related to the district, and I so wish that the issues related to powers and functions must be restored. So I'm not going to go to other issues, but I just want to deal specifically, Minister of COGTA. Section 151 of the Constitution clarifies, and it's very explicit related to the local government. Just subsection 4, just to take the leadership into confidence about it, it says, the national or provincial government may not compromise or impede the municipality's ability or right to exercise its powers or perform its functions. Will I be correct, leadership, if I take the provincial and national COGTA and treasury to court? Thank you so much.
All right. And the final question, yes, sir.
Am I audible? Sure. Thank you, Kathy, and to the panelists. Councillor Vuyo Yekani, Speaker of Council, Ubuntu Local Municipality in the Pixley-Kaseme district of the Northern Cape. The first issue that I would wanted to bring to the attention, particularly of Minister Ndabeni, is that of red tape reduction strategies. The grand plans that we have as municipalities might not necessarily reach fruition in the absence of those clearly defined red tape reduction strategies. So if we can be assisted with those, so as to ensure that we are able to deliver on what is expected of us seamlessly so. But while still on the issue of red tape reduction strategies, allow me to deliberate on the issue of the frustrations that come with the environmental impact assessment processes. For instance, there are projects that we initiated when we got to council. Now, on the eve of exiting council, they are still at the EIA process. So if that can also be attended to. The other issue relates to capacity, especially as an LED function of municipalities. And I'm glad that the Minister of Small Business Development is here. The challenge is that, in all honesty, majority of our municipalities cannot even afford the function of LED. Now, the proposal that I'm throwing to the plenary and to the ministers is there no possibility of the department providing, even if it's through field workers, warm bodies to our municipalities for people to act as LED officers, especially in light of the challenge that I've alluded to of the low revenue base of our municipalities and everything else to that effect. Now, there are also burning frustrations with the renewable energy projects. The Northern Cape houses over 40% of the renewable energy projects, but unlike the mining operations that are regulated through the social labor plans and all of that, in all honesty, majority of those developers in the renewable energy space are getting away with murder as a result of that area or sector not being regulated as compared to the mining sector. So would there be no possibilities of exploring avenues whereby there could be a regulation of some sort, regulating renewable energy projects, especially on issues that relate to local content and the plowing back initiative or community development initiatives in their respective localities? The last issue. Sorry,
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Can I say? Sure, thank you.
So we have the Deputy President with us for a limited amount of time. He has to leave shortly. I'm going to ask that we give him an opportunity to answer questions first. And then what we're going to do after that is that we're going to do just a picture opportunity with the officials and also do a handover of SALGA cares. And then after that, we'll give the SALGA President and the ministers an opportunity to answer. All right, Deputy President, you can answer first.
No, I was to request Kathy, let me start and the minister start, maybe President close it. If the President requests, my request is at the time against him.
Yeah, I'm watching the time, Mr. Stofile. All right, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Katie. It's because the President, in the conversation following the NEC requested that when the President speaks to us, must create a time to have an interaction. And I really appreciate on behalf of the NEC and also of the national members assembled that he created the time to interact with us so that he can listen and understand the issues. And thank you very much, President, for giving me the opportunity, Kathy. I think the one question that I want to deal with is a question that deals with the LED. Earlier on in the report, I highlighted on this, and the Minister, Small Business, in her input, confirmed that. We all agree that if you look into our theme today, it talks about building economic capabilities or resilient in municipalities, and this we can only succeed. And it links to the point that early in the next year, we have envisaged to convene an LED summit. To have a deliberate focus on the LED, and a part of that is to deal with the bottlenecks that it is raised out of the question that has been raised by the speaker, Kathy. And that is my take. And why we agree on that is because Minister, with our engagement, she understood the magnitude of the problem of economic challenges or development in our areas. And therefore, we agreed within that context. But nevertheless, it's a question is going to Minister, not to me. But I thought it is important for me, because we have been engaged, at least to make a comment on that issue. On the other question, in terms of Section 154, subsection 4, and this question is linked with the question, with the issue that the powers that are given to districts must be given back. I think we all are aware and we understand and agree that powers of districts need to be restored, and this is the issue that is that. And the tailor end of that question then says, will it be correct for me to take a legal action? The law of the Republic encourages the intergovernmental dispute to be resolved. And I can make number of examples, number of case laws with regard to this. Any matter that is not properly canvassed within Intergovernmental Relation Framework Act, many of the time courts do not want to listen to. And that is why we encourage always on matters where there is dispute, it is important that we engage and agree. For instance, the case in point, there's a dispute that we have been informed as SALGA leadership about the DDM with regard to the Western Cape. And the dispute that has been lodged, and is a dispute that we are engaged on it with an intention to find intergovernmental relations instrument as permitted by court. So as the issue that is raised by the councillor that have asked the question. And I think there's another question that I wish to make a comment to it, but it's really related to Minister. I think to me, learning to the question that has been raised there with regard to councillor protection, I think it's an issue. Minister of Cogta will confirm that we have been raising this at SALGA. The manner in which we handle the issue of protection of councillors, of municipal officials that happen to come out and explain issues that are taking place in their municipalities, it's a matter that it needs to be attended to. And I do accept that there is some gap, I think, Minister Cogta, between the police function, because the assessment or risk assessment is a function of the police to conduct, and I think we need to find a way of how do we deal with that. I won't answer the issue of upper limits and progression as it was raised earlier on and so on. Maybe let me deal with the issue. I think the youth structure, Zukisa spoke about, is appreciating that the presidency is here today. Last time they were not present. No, if you go back to the history, The president did spoke to us, but if you remember in that district, spoke to us through virtual because he was committed to other issues. But what we are then saying, it's important that having made this request to our leadership, President of the Republic, Deputy President, or the Presidency as an office, to always avail themselves, like today. President, he went beyond the time that we requested to him, at least to listen to the conversation that are here. And I think as a sector, we must appreciate that. It's a breaking record. I think let me pause there, and then I think Minister
No, thank you very much, Kathy, for the facilitation. Let me start with the first question that dealt with 4.1%. This is applicable to all public representatives, not only councillors. In April, the inflation was 3%. In August 2025, inflation was 3.3%. Now, 4.1% was a study that was done by the Commission and in consultation with the Minister of Finance on the basis of affordability. That is how 4.1% was arrived at, and on the basis of the information I have said, we concurred to that for all public representatives. And secondly, on the issue of senior managers, the challenge of waivers is going to come to an end. With the new system in place, waivers are gone. So there is no more worry about requesting whether waivers, provincial, and need the approval of the ministry at national level. Of course, there will be areas of challenge where you will find that people earn more than what they have to be. Then, as you rightly know, you can't affect a salary of a person. We will live with those challenges. But this system is going to bring equity. Even in terms of positions, the issue of a manager, a senior manager, getting more than a municipal manager is going to be something of the past. If we can just give it an opportunity to be implemented as a new system, of course, there will be some few challenges, but those challenges will be addressed as the system is introduced and as a new system also trying to bring uniformity and equity going forward. On the question of the protection of councillors and senior managers, I think we will need to do an engagement, Babu Stofile, because it is the competence of another department. But we can advance the argument because as a former councillor, I do know that when there are threats to wait for the assessment, the results might come when a person is no longer there. So now it is a matter which I think we can canvass together, that the Department of Police, there should be different ways in approaching when there is evidence, whatever form of evidence, to quickly provide the security while the assessment is done. I think we can work together on that one, since one understands better the background, as I've said, as a former councillor, both applicable to the officials. As we understand, the problem of extortions is at a higher level. Load reduction. I may not be a relevant authority on the issue of load reduction, but the person who asked the question, we are readily available so that we can get details. If it means we need to engage the minister for energy and electricity, we do so in order to resolve the challenge experienced by the municipality, because it is a line function for another department. The question of ward delimitation, not the equal. Well, the configuration of wards depends on the census in the population in a municipality. Now, it is true, urban areas, their wards have a bigger population. Rural areas have their wards with a smaller population. Probably because it will be difficult to say there should be different remuneration of councillors in the urban and rural, because indeed councillors in the rural are far backward. You may argue that they need to get better because they are working against all odds, while sometimes in the urban areas it can be those few challenges, but basic things are there. It can be a matter that can be visited as to, going forward, equity in terms of the ward delimitation, how it can be achieved. And on the question of the roles and responsibilities, the review on the white paper will address that matter. It is taken into account as an area which even this assembly raises sharply. Lastly, the president of SALGA responded to the question, can a local municipality take the province or national to court? It is not a good exercise to do. You spend money going to court, yet you could engage and spend no money. COGTA plays a role of intergovernmental relations. The province of Western Cape and the city of Cape Town, they wanted to go to court on DDM. We said, no, it's not necessary. And we have resolved the matter. We are in a process of gazetting the new regulations for DDM. No money spent going to court, but through engagement, the matter was resolved. So now, if a municipality has a problem, COGTA is available for intervention. Thank you very much, Katie.
Thank you so much. To add to what the President has spoken about in relation to the capacity for LED units, as I indicated earlier on my remarks, that we will be hosting the summit. I also mentioned that we have partnered with the University of Johannesburg and the National School of Government to make sure that they're able to custom design a program that must talk to LED practitioners. We are doing this because as we've done research across the country in the municipalities to find out if in the LED units, do we have people that are responsible for licensing and the other functions that we need? About 80% has those people that are occupying the offices, but it is the function that is missing, which means it talks to the understanding of what needs to be done. This is why we then said we are not going to add more people as we understand the challenges in relation to getting new people in the positions, but rather focus on capacitating those that are responsible for the work in those units. In relation to the red tape reduction, I also mentioned that there's about 27 pieces of legislation that we have identified. Red tape, the unfortunate thing about it is that it is about a law, a policy, and a regulation that has been put in place. And that is what will be a red tape. So if you experience certain challenges, which you would refer to as red tape, in a particular sector, you ought to understand what are the specific clauses that are putting challenge to what you want to achieve. But nevertheless, we have developed the red tape reduction framework, which has been widely consulted with COCTA, SALGA, and the provinces, including the municipalities. I'm awaiting cabinet processes. We're having the last cabinet on the 5th. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to present it, so we'll present it in the cabinet of February. And after that approval, we're then able to come back and consult with the relevant stakeholders, which is SALGA and COCTA, on the implementation, because within the red tape reduction framework, there's a proposal for the inter-provincial and intergovernmental task teams that must be established at provincial level, and therefore the appointment of the red tape champions based on the sectors that should be able to take up the work that is being raised, so that we give effect to the amendments that I spoke about in relation to the business licensing bill, wherein we are proposing that the Minister for Small Business Development must be able to issue regulations that must talk to the work that we're talking about. So all those will find expression to say, these are the things that we've picked up, and therefore when we issue the regulations against unfair practices or unjust practices on small businesses, then we're able to deal with that. To add to what Minister Tlhabisa has spoken about in relation to the renewable energy regulations, I will also take the matter up because I do sit in the interministerial committee looking at renewable energies as led by Minister Sputler. I don't think there's anything else that I've not covered. I hope I'm correct to say I've covered everything on that side. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kathy. I thought I should stand because I noticed that where I'm sitting, the people this side can't see me. I'm correct, ne? Yeah. So I thought, let me stand so everybody can see me. Kathy, I'm actually covered by President Stofile, Minister Tlhabisa, and Minister Ndabeni. They've answered all the questions. I just want to add two things. On load reduction, Minister Ramokgopa briefed Cabinet about what the problem is, and it's something that we want to end, because we're saying to him, look, we're getting load shedding, right, it's a bit behind us now, but what is this load reduction? So the explanation was that in some areas where you have transformers, because people are connecting illegally, you know, this thing of izinyoka-nyoka. So you find that people are connecting legally to informal settlement. They overload the transformer, and then the transformer will explode. Now the big question is, must Eskom then run and replace that transformer? So that's the big question. People are connecting illegally, they destroy the transformer. So Eskom says, well, if communities are doing that, we as Eskom can then run and replace the transformer because they are doing illegal things. So it's something that we need to engage with communities, and municipalities can help us with this one, because those are areas of your jurisdiction, just to look at what's happening, because transformers are built to supply a particular number of households. So what ESCOM does will take a transformer there because they know so many people live in this area. Once people start connecting another area illegally, they overload this transformer. But I want to agree with all of you councillors that it's something that we must find a solution to and resolve, because at the end of the day, we do want people to have electricity, because when there's a load reduction, you actually affect even residents that are paying. So they suffer because of the actions of those who are involved in illegality. But it's something that we are looking at, and I agree we should find a solution to it. The last issue that I wanted to add on is when there are disputes between state entities, particularly the different spheres of government, whether it's national with province or with local government, the approach that we take is always to seek to resolve the disputes rather than fighting it out in court. So I would want to urge that let's continue with that spirit. Intergovernmental relations were built in such a way that we are able to resolve the disputes through engagements, finding solutions, rather than government departments then challenging one another in court. So I want to agree with the panelists here that that's the right way to do things. And lastly, with the districts, I also agree that let's look at the role of district municipalities. It's not a new challenge. This has been there for quite a while, where district municipalities feel that they are not properly empowered. They play a very important coordinating role, but often without resources, because they don't collect revenue. Municipalities, local municipalities do that, and they get funded for coordination, but often not adequately. And the issue, I'm sure the Minister Hlabisa will look into this issue of the powers, because there are others who are saying even the powers have been removed. And maybe let's look at it, because we can't establish structures and then disempower them. If we do want to have district municipalities, then we need to make sure that they have proper powers and responsibilities and resources. I thought I should add only on those issues, but otherwise I'm covered. Thank you very much, Program Director.
All right, well, thank you to all of our panelists for that session. Please let's give them a round of applause, a proper round of applause. All right, before you go down, I'm going to invite that the president for SALGA, please stand. I'm going to ask the ministers, please don't go too far, because we are going to have a session now that requires just a picture opportunity as well. And while we do that, this is really part of the initiative that SALGA takes in as far as giving back to the community. They collect different dignity packs, and these are all from SALGA members, and it comes under SALGA Cares. So to come and receive this gift from SALGA, I'm going to invite Mr. Kanile of the Lamontville High School. The members gathered here have been able to put together 20,000 Rand worth of donations to Lamontville High School. Give yourselves a round of applause. Well done, well done. So they're going to bring up the goods here so you have a sense of what is in those boxes.